Wonderful. I'll now introduce to you our Toastmaster of the day. Sandra Valks says time has always been a challenge until it became clear that time is simply time and cannot be managed. Ouch. But it became clear that Sandra must manage Sandra. Ever tried herding cats? That's the challenge Sandra has, managing Sandra. Help me welcome our Toastmaster of the day, Sandra Valks, and cheer her on through this meeting's leadership challenge. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much, Francoise. The changes to the agenda are none. I'm just asking that everyone makes sure if you have a role that you put the role first and then put your full name after. So if any of you need to rename yourselves, that would be appreciated. The theme of the meeting today is time. Does it control you? Do you control it? Or do you manage you? Why not step into your personal place of power and have it you managing you? Time is infinite. You and I in this physical world, we're not. Do you complain about being too busy? There's not enough time. Where did the time go? One of the greatest challenges that new leaders and Toastmasters often encounter is learning how to manage their time, prioritize work, and be fully present. Here's the only place we need to be, right here, this moment. And caution, what does it matter how successful we are at work if we are not in balance, providing adequate time for our personal life, such as our family, our self-growth, and our own well-being? Leaders who are not balancing their time may find themselves overwhelmed and possibly even going into burnout. In the end, time management is all about managing yourself and the energy that you put into any project and relationship. Here at Leadership Speak, we have the opportunity to be leaders, creating the possibility of managing ourselves so that time will look after itself. I want to make a special thanks to the leader, Ray Rivero, who is making up the advertisement program. And I asked him about time, even though he couldn't be here, and I enjoyed his response. Time has a split personality. Sometimes I can manage time, then time creeps up and manages me, kind of like being in a boat trying to navigate wild rapids without an oar. Special thanks also to Asif, who has been guiding me through this process today. And he manages time by prioritizing activities based on objectives and risk. That sounds so practical to me. I can attest he does it well. I now want to call on Angela Brown for raising the toast. She has so beautifully blended her introduction and time insight, because I did ask for special introductions to talk about us. We get to know us and why we're into all of this. And she says, before I had COVID, I was good at managing my time, but lately that has changed. I feel like I'm spinning my wheels and not accomplishing anything. I feel overwhelmed, and I've been neglecting things that don't bring me joy anymore. I'm slowly learning to manage my time again, one step at a time. Let's welcome Angela Brown as she raises the toast. Angela?
We can't hear you, Angela.
Not hear you. No, still not.
All right, we're not
There we are. Oh, I thought that was Angela that spoke.
Madam Chair, can you continue with the next one while Angela sorts out the time?
I can't hear you either.
All right. We'll come back to you, Angela, if you can get your sound fixed. Our timer today is Hannah Schmidt, and she reports, I love being the timer, as it is important for the speakers to adhere to time management. And as time is our most precious resource, it would be irresponsible for me to let time manage me. Hannah, please explain your timing role today. And you're muted. You're muted, Hannah.
There we are.
There
Now
we go.
you can hear me. Now you can hear me. Madam Toastmaster, thank you very much for that introduction. And as she said, time is definitely of the essence of our speaking. And I see our first leadership speaker is Brahm. And do I time you at 15, 19, and 20 minutes? Is that correct?
Yes.
Just follow the agenda.
Yes, I will. And everybody else, Marianna, she will speak to 5 to 7 minutes, and then afterwards she's got a question and answer time for 13 minutes. And then the evaluators is 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, and 3 minutes. And that is at the end, I shall report my timing. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
And I would ask Hannah, while you're watching your time, because we're very tight on time today, if the speakers
Yes.
are going, you know, a full minute past their time, flash the red, if you can flash it.
I shall do so.
Thank you. Grammarian today, Vivian Robinson joined Leadership Speaks in February 1, 2023. She's married and has 2 children and 2 grandchildren, and the owner of a consulting firm specializing in all things federal. Welcome to Leadership Speak. Vivian says that she manages her time by placing everything on her calendar, including time to meditate each day. So beware, everyone. Vivian is bringing this leadership skill to us today as grammarian. Perhaps that means watch our timely tongues. Vivian, please explain your duties today.
Thank you so much, Madam Toastmaster of the day. Good day, all. As your grammarian this morning, I would present to you the word of the day, and the word of the day is prerogative. Please use prerogative during any time that you're speaking today, please. I will record everyone who uses the word prerogative, and I will place that information in the chat. Also, I'm tasked with recognizing phrases or special phrases that are important to what we're saying and a little bit different from what we're saying. I'm also going to be listening for that dreaded word "are," repeated words, you know, do you understand, right, and I'll record all of that, and when called on, I will give a report. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. Are we able to hear Angela Brown now with the toast? Let's check Angela's sound. Oops, no.
Hello, Angela.
Are we
Hello.
making? There
Can
we
you hear me?
go. There we go. Going through the challenge. Slowly learning to manage time again, one step at a time. Let's welcome Angela Brown as she will raise the toast.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever you are in this morning. What a great topic, managing time. Time was described as a progression of events from the past, the present, and into the future. Time is elusive. We cannot touch it, we cannot see it, we cannot smell it, we cannot hear it, but it takes an important part in all our lives. I'd like you all to raise your glass. and unmute yourself. And let's cheers to managing time.
Managing time.
Managing time.
Managing time.
Back
Thank
to
you,
you,
Angela.
Madam Toastmaster.
Well, I'm always excited to hear the leadership speak education portion of this meeting. And today it's Brahm doing about that 20 minutes. We've got the timing. Brahm is speaking from the visionary communication, number 4.1, communicate change. Today, Brahm is to present a speech about a plan developed for communicating a change to an audience affected by the change. Avoid reporting on the content of this project. By way of personal introduction, Brahm manages his energy and is a high impact performer. He uses his calendar wisely with all his activities on it for the day. He constantly shows us through his personal dedication and self-leadership that Yoda had the winning formula. And that's what Brahm lives by. Do or do not. There is no try. Today, as our educational speaker, Brahm will address this whole time challenge with, you can't manage time. You can't manage time. Brahm Memone.
Thank you. You can't manage time. Can you manage time? How many of you try to manage time? By show of hands, yeah? You all try to manage time. I bet you can't manage time. Every one of you here, you can't manage time. Now, what do I mean by that? Why am I challenging you? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to start thinking differently. We are going to manage change, the change and shift in our thinking, because you can't manage time. I promise you, by the end of this, you will not be able to say, I manage time. You will say something different. And what is that something different? Well, let me tell you this. The sun rises in the east. And where does it set? In the west, right? The sun sets in the west. Can you manage how the sun rises and the sun sets? And what is time but the measurement of the sun rising and sun setting, the rotation of the earth and their revolution around the sun? You cannot manage that, but that's what time is measuring. Can you measure, can you manage time? I bet you can't manage where the sun rises, where it sets, and for the period of time that it does. So that is my contention, is to change the way you think about time, the way you think about yourself, and what are you really managing, ladies and gentlemen, is this: you are managing yourselves. I have to manage myself around the day when the sun rises and the sun sets, and the sun revolves around the sun. The earth revolves around the sun 365 days. I have to manage myself as to what I'm doing. The old farmer in the farming communities that have lived for thousands of years, the way they do, the native people that are still living on the land the way they do, they manage themselves. They can sense the seasons coming. They can sense the changing times, when the rain will fall, when the snow will fall, and so on. They are managing themselves as to when they will plant. They will manage themselves as to when they will reap and when they will store, because they have that ancient wisdom knowledge embedded within them. Now, as a city dweller, we are taught, go learn how to manage time. And then you go learn how to manage time, and you cannot manage it because you have to manage yourself. You have to manage your energy. How you manage yourself through the day is the most important thing that you will have to do. Ladies and gentlemen, the clock keeps ticking. Now, the definition of time as the clock is ticking, you cannot manage this. According to Wikipedia, time is the continuous sequence of existence and events that occur in an apparently irreversible succession from the past, the present, and the future. That is time. It's a flow of sequence of events and your experience. What can you manage? You can manage yourself, how the events around you are going to take place, and how you're going to experience things, and how much of yourself shows up every day consistently, so that you can tap into that extraordinary potential that you have. That's what you are doing. So, ladies and gentlemen, what time you get up, what time you manage to do what you have to do in the morning, whether it's the meditation, whether it's a reflection, whether it's just rushing through the door and getting to work. Well, I hope you don't do that. You manage yourself better, because you can manage time. Set your alarm clock at the right time, and all sort of things, right? Managing yourself is so important. You don't want your life to be a pedestrian life. There's billions of people on this planet, 8 billion of us. Most of them don't know how to manage themselves. They're trying to manage time. And they're going about their lives without being organized. They're going about their lives without really understanding the true potential of a human being. Every human being has this extraordinary potential to do something incredible in the life. It could just be being the best parent, being the best manager, being the best colleague at work. It could be being the CEO of a billion-dollar organization. The only limit is not the sky. It is this, your mind. The mind is where you begin, and the mind is where you will end. What you put into your mind every day, how you organize your day, how you put things on your calendar matters. And therefore, we say, I'm managing my time because I put things on the calendar. But actually, what you have done is you used your mind, you used your intelligence, you used your creativity to put things in the calendar the way they should be and where they belong in the calendar. You are not managing time. You're managing yourself in the slots on your calendar where you slot yourself into, this is what I'm doing between 7 and 8 in the morning. This is what I'm going to do between 10 and 12, whether you're at work in an organization or you're an entrepreneur, whether it's a weekday or a weekend, you know what you're going to be doing. That is organized life. I hope I'm beginning to change your mind about what you think about time management. You cannot manage time. You can manage yourself through the day based on your calendar. We live in a modern world. We live in a modern world where, especially in leadership speak, we have members from China, 13 hours away from where I am. India is 10.5 hours away from where I am. All right. We have members from countries which are in the Caribbean, which are an hour ahead of me. We change our clocks in North America, in the spring and in the fall. Hopefully, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, we will change our clocks for the last time on March the 12th. So our meetings, for those of you who are in North America, those of us who change time, we will be meeting back at 9:30 from March the 18th. The rest of the world that doesn't change clocks will keep coming at the same time that they normally do. You have to manage your clocks, your time, your energy. You'll have to really manage yourself. When you get up and what you do and how you're going to be doing it, and when you attend meetings, when you commit to a role in a meeting, you don't want to be living a pedestrian life. You want to be living a life that says, I am somebody who can contribute and serve to the best, and my best is not yet the best. There's something still to grow on. That is managing yourself. That is truly understanding yourself. What do we do? Do you fail to plan, or are you planning to fail in that case? Well, let's have a look. When you fail to plan, when you fail to manage yourself around time, you're failing to plan, which means really you're planning to fail. And how does that happen is, everything in the end, what's in your calendar boils down to an action and execution of what you need to do. And that translates into progress, right? And this progress gives you more momentum for more execution and more action. But when you have failed to plan, you're actually planning to fail. And so, ladies and gentlemen, what happens is you are living in accidental autopilot because you're trying to manage time, or you haven't really managed time. You haven't put things in your calendar. You haven't followed through. You are really accidentally autopilot. You haven't created the goals and the timelines for your goals. And when you are going to do things that will help you tap into that extraordinary potential that you have. How many of you here, if I asked you, how many of you here are living your full potential or have a plan to live your full potential? Very few people will put up their hand. I know. I worked on 3 different continents for the past 50 years. It's only the working time. I worked for 50 years. Yeah, I ain't young. And I worked with hundreds of organizations, thousands of people, and I've traveled all over North America in trainings and so on. A lot of people live accidentally. They don't know where they're going to go. Or if they do, their dream is to have a big car and a big house, and they think they'll be happy. And there's no growth. There's no tapping into their potential. And so when you are living an accidental autopilot life, guess what? The action and the progress will be stunted, will be dimmed. You will not be able to fully tap into what it is that you're doing. But when you're organized, however, ladies and gentlemen, when you're organized, what happens? You're self-directed, you're deliberate, you designed your life, you know there's potential within you, you've taken the time to reflect. And when you have done that, your action and execution is going to be amplified, and your progress is going to be amplified as well. Most of us, unfortunately, have our minds full of things. We are busy. How many of you here are not busy? We all are busy, but our minds are so full of things. We are running around with all this stuff happening in our heads, the work that I got to do, the next vacation, when am I going to have my next vacation? What's on my damn iPhone? We get enslaved to this and the social media, and we keep scrolling on things every day, our careers and the entertainment and the holidays and what's happening with my car and the insurance and my leisure time. And we're so flooded with information, and you watch the TV and you're bombarded with commercials as to why you are inadequate and why you should get something more stuff to buy. All right. And so, and then the news will tell you to have an opinion about this and an opinion about that. And what do you think of this war and this, gay or lesbians or abortion and millions of things. And your mind is so full of things. Your mind is full, it's busy, and you don't even realize it because it's unconsciously embedded, and then you're acting out from that. You have no idea that the unconscious mind is 95% of your brain, and only 5%, which is the prefrontal cortex, what lands on the stage and what you're conscious of is only 5%. Your subconscious mind is 400 times faster than your conscious brain. And as you begin to reflect and take charge of your life and be less busy and more mindful, not mindful of stuff, but mindful with focus and clarity, then you have fewer things to worry about, and everything is now on your calendar, and everything, your calendar takes care of everything. You've managed everything on your calendar. And so you have a vision, you're organized, you connect with human beings, you work in teams, and you're energized to do what you really need to do to progress and to tap into your full potential, yet be a good parent, yet be a good friend, yet be a good colleague, and all the roles that you play, and be better every day at it, is to take control of yourself, to take charge of yourself, and put it on that calendar, and everything is driven by that calendar. So you don't have to think what's going on, and you don't have 2 million different opinions of what the television is telling you to have the opinion of. You can still be a good human being. You can still be kind. You still work with integrity. The top quality and value of Toastmasters International is integrity. Have integrity, right? And that's when you start to tap into your full potential and begin the journey of, I am an extraordinary human being. What do I need to do today? How can I manage myself so that the time itself manages around me? Different way of thinking. That's the question you should be asking yourself. So make sure what goes on your checklist is the important things, right, on your checklist. There's a checklist that you have to have, and there's a checklist or a list of things that you will not do. Things that you will not do because they are so distracting. I don't watch TV. I haven't had a TV for 23 years. How do I keep up with news? I don't need to keep up with 95% of the news. The most important news, sometimes I go on social media, it's there. And there's very little very important news that I really need to know. If there's a snowstorm coming, and there is, my cell phone popped up with a warning. It's going to snow in the next 24 hours, and the wind is going to be like 70 kilometers an hour. It pops up on my calendar, on my cell phone. The weather advisory does that. I don't have to worry about watching for the weather every little while, because where we are in Canada, the weather changes very, very quickly. It's very volatile. My checklists determine what I do. Something's changed there on the. All right, thank you. It's just the spotlight that's changed on my screen. So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure what ends up in your checklist and the things that you will not do going forward so that you can manage yourself properly, because there's 2 million things to do, and so you will understand that your mind is not busy. It's not mind full of stuff, but you are being mindful. Make sure everything goes on your checklist or things that you will not do going forward. And become a friend with your calendar. Right? Master your calendar, master your reminders, your checklist. That means you're mastering your life. That should be an SOP. What is an SOP? If you were a pilot in a plane, you'll understand they have standard operating procedures before the plane takes off. Before even the pilot goes and sits in the plane, he has a checklist, right? There's standard operating procedures of what he will be doing. And then when he gets on the plane, the things that he will check to make sure that the plane is safe to fly for the passengers. Standard operating procedure. What is the standard operating procedure for your life? What are you going to do? How are you going to fly through life? What time are you going to take off? What time are you going to land? And what are you going to do while you're flying? Standard operating procedure. My son is a pilot. He knows this. Standard operating procedure. What is your standard operating procedure? Are you going to manage time? Or are you going to manage yourself around time and use your calendar wisely? Be consistent, be deliberate, rather than once in a while say, okay, today I'm going to manage myself, and then you go to the gym a couple of days, you turn up at work time, you meditate, you sort of do your journal, you do the necessary things to manage yourself, and then it slips away. It's not going to work. Ladies and gentlemen, watch this video, and I'm going to ask you a few questions, and look at the timing and the precision of what's really going on here, right? There's about 12 people. And how in sync they are working with themselves. The human potential is unbelievable. It's incredible. You can do a lot of things that you think are impossible. Now, I'm not telling you to be a trapeze artist in a circus, but let me ask you a few questions. Let's look at our questions together, right? Not ask you, just you, but let's look at it together. The questions are this. Number one, when they first started, were they a high-performing team, these people? What would be the answer, right? Put it in the chat if you can. What do you think when they first started? Were they a high-performing team? Did they even think there would be a team together, this a dozen people? No. But they decided one day that they would be and do something like this. And how long did it take? It took less than 1 minute to do those two little acts. Did you notice there were two acts in there? It took only 1 minute. And they decided to focus and have clarity, right? Did they decide to have that? Did they manage themselves around it? Or were they managing time? Did they turn up when they wanted to turn up and do the practice? Did they decide they won't do certain things? So they eliminated a lot of stuff so they became mindful and focused and clear and go to that mastery? They did. Did they turn up for practice? They did. Right? Did they manage time or did they manage themselves? Ladies and gentlemen, they managed themselves around time. And the practice, by the way, they had to do two types of practice. One, their own practice to build their muscle. They had to go to the gym or the necessary place where they could do the core strength. And then they had to get together and practice it together to do what they were doing. Two types of practices, right? Consistently managing themselves. Is the team taught in sync with each other to do that precision work? Everyone is acting as one whole. None of them are thinking individually. Every one of those 12 people on the floor there are thinking, and they're not even thinking about themselves. It's just like as one. And you have to really understand that how you manage yourself around that as a team, and the amount of time that you have to put in by managing yourself and your mind to do that. And last, trust. Do they trust each other? That the guy at the top, right? The lady at the bottom there, did she think that the guy at the top will be there for her? There was trust. She was standing backwards and she flipped over and stood on his shoulder. Trust is so important in leadership, in managing yourself, in managing your time. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't build trust, when you say I will do something and you don't, and then 2 days later you cancel your trip, your speech, you're not building any trust with anyone. You're not being a leader in what you're supposed to be doing. So building trust is so important, which means it all boils down to managing yourself, not managing time. Ladies and gentlemen, I rest my case. I hope I've turned your mind around and think differently. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
I must say, Brahm, that has been the most inspiring presentation I've heard from you. I liked it. I think I'm unmuted. Thank you so much, Brahm. Now it's my prerogative to just remind everybody to be very cautious with the timing today because we have a contest following as well. Our first speaker of the day is Marianna Burka. And her take on time management is, as a control freak in most aspects of my life, boy, there's some honesty for us, time is the one I just can't seem to overpower. I am a work in progress. Common challenge for many of us, and now we've got the trick. Don't watch TV, do what we say. And here we go into the objectives, presenting from the Strategic Relationships Path, Level 4, it's a Q&A. She will have 5 to 7 minutes to present, and then she has an opportunity to answer questions that you will pose. So be thinking about what your questions will be. So she'll present for 7 minutes and there'll be 13 minutes for questions. And now into the intro, because as a little aside from me, Marianna was willing to work with me to imagine delivering her speech to an outside audience. And that means we need to set people up to hear what we're going to say. So we came up with the potential of speaking to health clients. Please evaluate as well whether or not the introduction was effective in adding to the whole speech. Marianna first became interested in nutrition 23 years ago when she accidentally cured her father-in-law from diabetes. Wow, I'm impressed. Now, in her professional life, she is a passionate wellness advocate, concentrating on weight management and muscle building. Within her field of expertise, she favors the fasting lifestyle as an easy and economical way to improve one's health. That is what she will talk about, sharing her personal story. Please welcome Marianna Burka. Now you fast, now you eat. Now you fast, now you eat. Marianna Burka. And you're muted, Marianna.
I have to share my screen. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guest. From this lovely introduction, you did hear that I am a weight management professional. And that said, I managed to gain weight year after year, which is kind of crazy. So last year, at the beginning, I have this crazy cycle that beginning of the year, I go on a weight loss program, which I designed myself. And I lose all the excess weight for my birthday, which is in mid-May. And then everything is fine for the summer, but then comes those pesky holiday seasons, October, December, and look at the mirror in January, and I have to say, oh boy, so what's this year? So I will tell you my story about a year ago. And maybe this is similar to your story, because last year in February, I didn't have to have a scale. I just needed to look into the mirror to see that, well, I'm looking at some serious program this year to get into my ideal weight for my birthday. So I stepped on my little scale. Now, that is not me, first of all, but the scale is what I use. And it is a very interesting scale. It doesn't just tell me my weight. It also tells me that how much of that weight is muscle or just water, or most importantly, how much of it fat. And that scale showed it to me a year ago that my weight was 151 pounds, almost 70 kilos. Now that doesn't sound very scary for many of you, but I am 5'2", and 151 pounds is a lot of weight. And today I'm gonna share how 151 pounds looks on a 5'2" frame. And that is not pretty. So you can understand that I was on the hurry in February to devise a program that will get me back to shape. So yes, I was thinking about, I need a plan, and I wanted to do something that I never did before. So I had about 100 days to my birthday. So of course, my plan was a 100-day challenge. And that 100 day, I decided to do 50 days of fasting and 50 days of eating. Anybody wants to join me? Though this year I don't have to do it, which is the magic of fasting. But of course, I didn't do that. I didn't eat for 50 days and then I ate other 50. No, I was varying it. 1 day of eating, 1 day of fasting, 2 days of eating, 2 days of fasting, or whatever came to, because I still had a life. And you all have a life, and we have to adjust our weight management project to our loved ones. And if they want to have a nice dinner, we cannot just say that, I am fasting today, I cannot have that delicious pot roast or pie. So the fasting part is easy. I talked about it a lot in this club and everywhere I go. You cannot talk to me more than 2 minutes without getting some fasting advice. But the other part of the program is when you eat. And that is a secret, because you can fast and still gain weight if you're eating too much. After all, it's not a free-for-all. So let's just talk about nutrition. And it's very important. And doesn't matter what kind of diet you prefer. And I'm not going to tell you what you should. But we have only 3 macronutrients. Macronutrients is the nutrients we are measuring in grams, unlike micro and nutrients, which is usually minerals and vitamins. So macronutrients, we have only 3: protein, fat, and carbohydrate, and all loved and hated carbohydrate. So I start with the protein because protein is the most important part of any diet. Without protein, no life, no health, no weight loss, no muscle growth. So you have to eat your protein. How much of that? That depends on your lifestyle. When I was doing the program, I aimed for 100 grams for my body weight and lifestyle. Fat, there are certain fats are essential. These are the omegas. And the rest of it, whatever you can fit into your lifestyle and your diet without overeating and gaining weight. Be careful. Every gram of fat has 9 calories. And the carbohydrates, look at how pretty it is. I love carbohydrates. And they are gorgeous and healthy, but just like fats, you have to be mindful how much you eat. But the important part, carbohydrates carry the fiber, which also essential for your health. And there is another group of carbohydrates. Oh, they are so pretty and delicious, but it's a big no, no, no if you are on a weight loss program. And of course, exercise is the fountain of youth. So you have to do various exercise. And I have no time to go into details, but most importantly, you do have to exercise if you want to lose weight. And this is my 100-day plan, or as it turned out, orange is when I was not eating and purple when I was eating. If you count it, which I don't give you time, but it is 100-day and it's 50-50 each. And on May 12, I measured myself. And as you can see, I lost exactly 25 pounds, which I planned out to be. And how that it looked in a real life, you have your before and after picture. And I think picture has 1,000 words. 25 pounds means a lot for a 5'2" frame. So I had a happy birthday celebration last May with a piece of cake, because it doesn't matter what kind of project you are doing, what kind of weight management, you always should be able to have a piece of cake. And let's talk now. Any question? Yes. Brahm? I cannot hear you, you muted.
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute myself. Thank you very much for the opportunity to ask you questions. As you know, it's one of my favorite subjects as well, to take care of yourself, managing yourself around food, of course. The cardio, right? What is the heart rate recommended for cardio?
Well, if you cardio exercise, but they usually say you get your max output. And how you get your max output, it's usually a 220 heartbeat per minute, and you take down to 80%. And that's your max output. Like with a 60-year-old person, it's 5 times, do I have to do a math? Mine is around 150, 160. And you never go to that max. And then you go back and take off the 70% of max heart rate as a comfortable exercise. And but also it always depends on your health and status at the moment. Because if you're exercising for years, you can go to 90% of your max heart rate. If you didn't exercise for 10 years, you start with 50% and build it up day by day, week by week. And that's how you get it. And you always have to know yourself, you have to watch yourself. You know, they say that if you are able to talk, but not sing, you are doing it right. Is that excellent? Help you?
Yeah, just one clarity, if I may. When you said 220, so it's 220 minus the age times the 80% of that, right? Is that what you meant?
Yes.
Yeah, now it computes. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, indeed. Yes, thanks for the clarity.
Thanks for the question. Yes, Bindhu. You're muted.
Marianna, this is the best of your talks that I have enjoyed. Because it's all you. Now, without wasting time, let me play the devil's advocate. And how would you advise, one, a diabetic who needed to lose weight, and second, an underweight person who has an altered body ratio?
Well, let's start with, thank you very much, Bindhu. Let's start with the underweight person. Fasting there is very few limitation with fasting. Someone with underweight issues and weight issues in general, they should not fast and they should gain weight. And there are a program for that, which I can help people, but that's not really a fasting program. It's more of a let's gain weight. It's exercise and eating the right food and some psychological help. Back to the diabetes. Fasting is the easiest way to correct diabetes. But when you're on an insulin regimen, you do need your doctor's permission, or you need a professional, oh my gosh, you need professional help. And you have to do it just like with exercise. You do it day by day and have to check your insulin and glucose levels religiously, because that is the thing, that you're losing weight because you are regulating your glucose with fasting. And when you have diabetes already, you have to be very careful. It's a slow process, but it is working. And one of the best way to get out of a diabetes by fasting. Is that help you?
Thank you, Marianna. I'll speak with you out of the meeting on this.
Yes, please. I'm available. Thank you. Lakesh.
Hi, Marianna. My question is regarding fasting. What is the best way of doing fasting? Is it just intake of water from morning to night and not eating any meal or even fruit or anything? Or it's good to have some, fruits or something like that? How is the best way to do fasting?
Thank you, Lakesh. And that's an excellent question, because many people asking something like this. And I believe in a pure fast, which meaning water only with a pinch of salt and a bit of lemon juice, just to replace some of the minerals you might sweat out, especially if you exercise during fasting. But if you're eating anything, that is not a fast. Fast means no food, and preferably no drink with calories. You can have black coffee, black tea, and water, enough water. But if you're eating food, that's a whole different process, and that's another speech. But thank you for the question.
So just to for a better clarity, so fruit is also not advisable during fast?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandy.
I have so many questions.
Okay, we
I
only have
guess
about 8 minutes.
the first one I want to ask you is around what types of exercise you do when you're fasting, but that's not nearly as important as what I want to know is when was your first experience with fasting, and why did you start it? Like, did you, because certainly you didn't just do the 100-day challenge just out of the blue. So can you tell me when and why you started fasting and what that looked like, please?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sandy. And today is all about sharing my story. And my first time of fasting for 2 days, it was a long time ago, long before I started to be interested in nutrition, or around that time. And I had some baby weight, 15 pounds, and I wanted to lose that. And a program I find at that time, I didn't design it myself, but it started with 2-day fast. And I figured, well, what the heck, I can do it. And I did it. And the biggest surprise for me was that the 3rd day morning, when I could eat, I wasn't hungry. But that said, as a beginner fasting person, fasting is not all fun. So you want to start slowly, not necessarily with 2 days, build it up, just like the exercise or any routine. When you're changing lifestyle, you have to give yourself some time to get used to it. Now, there is always a possibility of revolution, and some people start with 7-day fast, but I would advise against it. Thank you for your question. Dinesh.
First of all, thank you, Marianna, for a wonderful presentation. I learned a lot, and I've seen your evolution as a speaker. I've got 3 questions, and I hope the time is going to be pretty quick. First is, you said 50-50, which means 50 days no eating, 50 days fasting, 50 days eating. So my challenge is, if I fast today, the second day, I eat double what I eat the day before. Quantity of the intake increases because I eat double. Hey, I was fasting yesterday. How do I manage that? That's the first part. The second part of the same question is what I think Bindhu mentioned, that for the diabetic patients, what the doctors normally recommend is not to do the fasting, to do consistent eating. It's not what you eat, it's how much you eat, and the quantity matters the most rather than the frequency and all that stuff too. So how do we get into that kind of a discipline? And the third and the very important part, what Brahm asked the question.
Dinesh, let me stop you. Let me answer these 2 questions first, because there are other people's and I'll be happy to talk to you after the meeting. So first of all, when you start fasting, studies show, and they made quite a few studies about that, people usually don't eat twice as much. So even if you are eating a lot, you still have some calorie deficit. But that's what I was talking today, that even if you're fasting 50 days in 100, you still, if you want to lose weight, you have to watch what you eat. And you have to give up all those delicious, colorful carbs called cakes and cookies and candies. That's just no way if you want to lose weight. If you're just keeping your weight, then you have more freedom of eating. And regarding the diabetes, our doctors usually don't recommend fasting because that requires more attention from you as a patient and from the doctor itself to make sure that everything is going step by step and slowly but surely. But fasting is the best way to get off insulin injections. And if we will have time at the end, I will go back for your third question, but maybe after the meeting we can talk. Is that all right with you?
That's perfectly fine. Thank you, Marianna, for the wonderful answers. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dinesh. Yati, what's your question?
Thank you for a good ask today, Marianna. I have tried to do intermittent fasting. So far I did like 16 hours then gradually 18, 20, 25, 27, and last month I did longer fasting, 36 hours, but I have problem. The problem was I have acid reflux when I'm doing fasting. It's so bothering. Yeah, I can feel it's like the dryness and itchiness even to the throat and discomfort. So do you have any suggestion if that happens? Thank you.
Uniati, I cannot really understand you. Can you try to change something with your microphone settings because your sound is very distorted?
What she said was, if I can translate for her, because we're running out of time, is she has acid reflux while she's fasting, and how can to avoid that? I think that was the question.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brahm and Uniati. Well, when you're fasting, you should, in normal circumstance, you should not have acid reflux because we only build up acid in our stomach when we are eating. It's an on-demand process. If you do, you should have shorter periods of time. And then again, my advice would be just build up your fasting process and try to figure it out. Why do you have the acid reflux? Because it can have as many different reasons as headaches. It can be because you're producing too much acid or you're producing too little, because most people has acid reflux because they don't have enough acid in their stomach. And then the solution is apple cider vinegar or lemon juice. So you have to figure it out. And in the meantime, you have to go careful. Many people have acid reflux because they still drink coffee. And don't forget, coffee is extremely acidic. You might want to leave out coffee and tea from your fast for a while and see how that affects your acid reflux. Is that helping you a bit? Perfect. Thank you very much for all of your questions. And our time is up. We just got a red light. So it was a pleasure for me to present my story. And thank you for all the questions. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Wow. I'm loving this. I like the way the introduction really set it up as well. So we knew what we were listening for. So beautiful. Our next speaker is Raam Lakhanpal, and he says about time. Every day, I'm going to put the objectives first. And yes, I am blending them into the introduction. So he's engaging humor, 5.6, leading in your volunteer organization with a 5 to 7 minute speech. Deliver a speech reflecting on the personal experience of serving in a leadership role for at least 6 months, where a 360-degree evaluation of the speaker's leadership skills was conducted and a succession plan was created. Brahm has been a Toastmaster for 6.5 years, a DTM past director, past Division A director, and he's helped charter 2 clubs. But what he says about time is every day I move toward asking myself on how to escape being managed. I used to make a daily to-do list on my laptop. However, this did not work as effectively. So now I create a written page of to-do list, then work on adding or deleting as the day moves on. Another day, another fresh page with the updates. Raam Lakhanpal, serve those in need, Raam Lakhanpal.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow members from around the world. It was April 15th, early spring, and the phone rang. Ring, and I said, who could that be? This is kind of late phone call. It's got to be something important. It was our district director. Her name is Jocelyn Vezina, and what a lady she is. She said, Raam, I've been hearing about you, and I've been hearing about your charity. I'd like to know a little bit more about the charity, because this charity that you've done is very little known in the community outside of your area. And she said, I want to introduce you to a charity that you could get a very, very good award for. Award, I said? What type of award would that be? And then he went on to say, she rather says, this award is sort of unknown, unheard of in Toastmasters. A very, very little thing. It's called Memad. And you might wonder what that MMAD stood for. Members making a difference outside of Toastmasters. And there are much need. And my mama used to say, serve those in need, Raam. Go and cut the grass, Uncle Tom's. And when it snowed, go and clear her snow. And then while this was going on, I said, let me do other things as well. And pandemic came in 2020. And bang on, we were ready. Masks were not available as much. That was the greatest need at the time. And our beautiful lady called Maria, she can put together masks in about maybe 7 hours. She could put about 200 masks. And then food banks were still going on, soup kitchens were going on. And then another thing came to me. My uncle, Narinder, he sold his business. And there was some change left over from my understanding. And I went to him and I said, Uncle, you want to leave a legacy behind. Which hospital do you go to? And he just said to me, Ram, I go to others, but the one that I frequent so much is this one here. And said, oh, Scarborough General Hospital, very close to you. That's wonderful. And then he says, what are you saying, Ram? I said, think about a charity. What legacy would you leave behind? Would you like to do something for the hospital that you belong to? And then he says, let me talk to your aunt, Deepa. I said, okay, great. And then 5 days later, he called. He says, we have contacted the hospital and we are going to go there tomorrow evening to talk about the charity that we would like to contribute to through your insistence. And I think it'll be a great thing to do. And so 1 week later, voila, he is inviting me to a gathering of those family members that are part of this charity. And I said, wonderful. And we went there, and there was a lady that came and greeted me. And she said beside me, said, oh, your uncle is so great. And he is doing so much. And we are going to dedicate one section of the hospital, Scarborough General Hospital. If you'd like to go, it's not far from Toronto on the east side. You can go and see it. And that'll be dedicated to Deepa and Narinder Lal. And I said, wonderful. But he said, wow, did you know how much money? I said, I wonder how much he gave. Is it one? She kept going up. Is it two? She kept going up. Is it three? She said, up, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He gave $10 million to the hospital. And I'm proud, really, really proud of him in what he's done. And I said to Uncle, what a wonderful gesture that you've done. I hugged him and said, continue to do that. I think it'll be great. Then I heard about an organization called Satya Sai Baba. They're a charitable organization that we're thinking about building a hospital in a very, very remote corner of the world, right in South Pacific, about 3.5-hour flight from New Zealand and about 4 from Australia. And there weren't any hospitals nearby, and certainly not a heart hospital, and certainly not a specialized procedure for children, specialized primarily for children. It is a congenital heart failure hospital. And I said, oh, I got an idea. What should I do? I went back to Uncle. I said, Uncle, this is the situation. This is the need out there. We need to raise a lot of money for the hospital. The land has been given, and the land is really, really ready. Would you be able to contribute whatever you can? And I said, oh, he thought about it. Let me talk to your Auntie Deepa and see what we can do. And I said, oh, that's great. And then I approached another individual, fundraising type of thing. And the fundraising was, I approached Hard Rock Cafe owner Isaac Tigrid, and he's known to do these types of things, give to charity. And today, I'm happy to announce that that hospital is functioning. It has all the equipment that you need. And if you ever go to the southern portion of the world in Fiji Islands, you'll find a hospital named by Satya Sai Baba organization, primarily geared to these individual, the serving the needy, saving those that are in the Southern Pacific. Not only Fiji area, the whole South Pacific area will be covered for that service to humanity. The other thing that is so wonderful is that you will not find a cash counter there, nor would you find a billing department. Everything is charitable. Everything is free for those living in those areas. And that is something that I really, really admire, that we were able to put together something that's not costing a dollar to anybody, but through charity, this thing is going to take off. There will be more specializations in the future, but for now, that is what it is. And I thank you for listening to me. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Wow. I love successes. Thank you for that. Our next speaker, I'm just going to be mindful of the timing here. Azim, Muhammad Azimuddin, likes to be called Azim. And his project is the Visionary Communication number 3, Connect with Storytelling. Personally, I'm looking forward to see how intuition, which is the title of his speech, has played a powerful part in this journey, using intuition to create greater leadership. He's an enthusiastic learner, joined Toastmasters in 2006, and since that time continued through different roles in Toastmasters. Help me welcome Azim Muhammad presenting Intuition. Intuition, Azim Muhammad.
I will, ... That was written that an 8-year-old girl, Akka, wrote on her painting. And that painting won her the first prize in painting competition in her school. She successfully depicted her intuition through her painting. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, leaders, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Every one of us is gifted with talent. Some of us are aware of the talents, and they polish their talents, show this to the world. They manage the time. And some of us, they are oblivion, and they are lost in the darkness of ignorance, and time managed them. A few years ago, I was attending an annual celebration of my son's school. I was walking through the corridor of the classroom, and then I noticed a notice board. To my curiosity, I came closer to the notice board, and I saw some painting posted on this notice board. And on the top was Akka's painting. She tried to draw her parents in a very clumsy way on the painting. And in between, she drew herself, a happy child, the happiest child in this world. And on the same page, a little away, she drew once again her parents. But this time, she was sitting on the ground. Her mother was standing nearby, but her father was moving away. That was the inspirational story of Aka's family. Aka's family started facing a very terrible financial crisis. And her father was not able to manage the time. And as a result, he divorced Aka's mother. Aka's mother got a job in a restaurant. And at the verge of frustration and falling down, Aka stood up with a determination, I will. And that 3 dots, she explained, were her intuition, her determination, and ambition. On the day of celebration, Aka was invited on the stage to deliver a speech. She delivered a very motivational speech for the parents who are facing terrible financial crisis. And she said, love is the bonding, that force that helps you to face any crisis. Until you are bonded with love, there is a hope that you will fight back and overcome your financial crisis. And she was herself a symbol and a pillar of strength for many, many children who lost their parents. The celebration proceeded on, and she started leading the events one after another. And then it is struck in my mind, how come an 8-year-old girl became a leader on the stage? And then started unfolding to me that to lead the world, to lead the audience, the people, your loved ones, you don't need any qualification, any designation, any certification or recognition. It needs your mindset of leadership that helps you to come forward and lead the world. That Aka did. If you will study the leadership styles and skills of all the leaders of all the time, of all over the world, and bring it on one table, you can segregate in only 3 categories. 1, the logic that attracts your mind, the emotion. 2nd, the emotion that works through your heart. And 3rd, the intuition that works through your guts. You need a gut to lead the world, to manage your time. Aka's celebration, I left 20 years behind, but still today, I am inspired by her intuition. Whenever I face challenging situation in my life, I stand up with a determination, I will. And that 3 dots are my perception, my achievement, and my belief that helps me to work through my intuition. Ladies and gentlemen, I work through my intuition. Do you? Over to Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. I really enjoyed that. Now, apparently we do the speaker poll results next. Sergeant at Arms, can you please put up the poll? And everyone make a choice. Sergeant at Arms, do you have the poll results in? There we go. Wow, everybody wanted to learn how to fast. Well done. Thank you so much. A round of applause for Marianna, but also for all of our speakers. That was amazing. We're going to just have a 2-minute break now. If timer can bring us back at 9:50. Thank you. If you don't need to make a visit anywhere, it's a good time to use the chat and put in a little bit of evaluation as well to the different speakers. Great.
Toastmaster, time is up.
All righty, let's bring this meeting back to order. We come to an very interesting part. I mean, I love the speaking and I love the whole meeting, but I really enjoy this general evaluation portion, which today is being led by Dinesh Sharma. Dinesh is an HR professional with more than 25 years of global HR experience in North America and India, a community builder, a member of Leadership Speak and another District 60 Advanced Club, and yada, 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 lots of things. But I'm guessing he really manages himself to make time to serve him. As the GE of the meeting, let's hear all the powerful feedback to help us grow. And yes, me too. I'm looking forward to your evaluation of the Toastmaster of the day. Dinesh, help me welcome Dinesh as General Evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmasters, Sandra, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. As part of my role as the General Evaluator, I'm going to be evaluating the entire meeting, right from start to the end, but I'm not alone. I have a team of people that are going to be helping me do this. So first thing of evaluating the meeting is evaluating the speeches we had it. And to do that, I'm going to request first Tony to evaluate Braham's educational speech. So over to you, Tony.
Okay. Thank you, GE. It is my pleasure and indeed my duty to evaluate Brahm Memone's presentation. and his objectives. So Brahm, I'd like to commend you for a masterful presentation on the visionary communication pathway, and communicating change was your project. Your title, of course, was You Can't Manage Time. The message I interpreted, okay, was that time is merely a tool, not an objective, and we must manage ourselves first. And of course, that's very relevant because we're all individuals, and that means something to each one of us. Three things that I really want to commend you on. First, not in priority, was your visual backgrounds, you know, with the photos, the scripts, even the video. They were very effective. They worked towards achieving your message. And obviously you planned and practiced this. The second thing I want to commend you on is the video. At first I thought it was a negative. I was wondering, how does a synchronized team effort got something to do with me as an individual? But you successfully carried on with the story, and you had a script of 7 items on how each one is individualized to achieve a synchronized team effort. So it was a script within a script. Really well done. And of course, the third thing, your vocal variety, as usual, was well paced. It was, you might say, synchronized to your photos, your video, and your script. Again, very masterfully well done. I have 2 suggestions. One is you did show as part of your photos, you know, your background, it's a checklist with check marks. I would have liked to have seen one of your real checklists that had tips on, like less TV, as you mentioned, balanced diet, as we heard later from Marianna, exercise, wake up earlier, use a weekly, monthly, daily calendar, etc. And also the second thing is a practical story, a story of yourself or someone else on how this did make a change in their lives by managing yourself, using time as a tool. In summary, to me, you explain the what, the who, when, and why. I would like to have seen more tips on the how aspect based on a story that would have made things more memorable as this presentation was and will be in the future, even more memorable. So congratulations on presenting your message. Time is a tool, not an objective. Manage ourselves first. Well done, Brahm, as always. Thank you. Back to you, GE.
Thank you, Tony, for your very, very insightful feedback to Brahm. Yes, time is a tool which we need to use it effectively. I'm going to move on to our first evaluator, Mrinal. Mrinal is going to evaluate Marianna's speech. One of the things Mrinal mentioned in his introduction to me is he used a general to keep track of all the activities, and that's how he manages time. So over to you, Mrinal.
Thank you so much, General Evaluator Dinesh. So ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, we are just stories. Onus on us how good we make it. Good morning, Toastmasters and guests, and especially Toastmaster Marianna. Thank you for sharing your transformation journey with all of us. Let me share you 3 things that you really well. First, audience connection. You connect with audience throughout your speech, starting from your speech, followed by your Q&A sessions. You start with visualize your last year weight. You mention about 151 pounds or 69 kg. And then you share about your transformation journey, 100-day plans, 50 days eating and 50 days fasting. Then you talk about diet plan, protein, fat, carbohydrate, how to maintain a balanced diet throughout a day. And then you are talking about exercise. You mentioned 3 things, cardio, weight, stretching. So that's why throughout your speech, you are well connected with the audience. Coming to your question answer, at the time of 8 minutes, or almost I think 13 minutes, you interact with 6 audience and 15 questions you handle with less than 13. Well job done. And I like it that whenever Dinesh talk about, or other member also, they also enthusiastic to know more about other question, you restrict to time. And that's the proper way to manage your time throughout your speech. Second component, which I like the most, your eye contact. Throughout your meeting, you maintain your eye contact. That's the amazing part of your presentation. And third, your Zoom presence. I like your background. Your dressing sense is impeccable, I must say. And apart from that, the way you visualize your presentation, everyone can connect their own stories. That is important. When you connect the person's personal story with the audience also can think their stories. Although I know that these are the 3 parts, but as an evaluator, my job, few points you should consider to becoming a better version of yourself. Only one recommendation from my side, that is voice modulations and little bit of smiling. This part I'm talking about, it is just fabulous. Mainly I'm talking about your space, facial expression, emotional, these 3 parts you can include on your speech. Or suppose when you reduce your weight, you just say, yes, I reduced my weight 25 pounds within less than 1 year. That kind of expression you should implement in your speech. So overall, amazing audience connection, eye contact, Zoom presence, only little bit voice modulation required in your presentation. I am sure if you follow this, your story will inspire generation of Toastmaster. Back to you, G.
Thank you, Mrinal, for a very, very insightful feedback to Marianna. Moving on, the second evaluator who's going to evaluate Raam Lakhanpal's speech is our evaluator, Bindhu Joseph. Bindhu, over to you.
Raam, first of all, you are making this project so difficult for me to evaluate. You are such an inspiring individual, and you have made such a difference to so many patients in your part of the world, to so many children with congenital heart disorders. I'm afraid it's not congenital heart disorders. Those 2 words are worlds apart. But I'm here not to evaluate the beautiful personality that you are, but to evaluate your speech. So let me go ahead with that. First of all, your objectives. One was audience engagement, storytelling, the sure fast tool for audience engagement, and you applied it from the very beginning of your speech, carried it throughout. Now, the one thing I can recommend for improving your storytelling skills is a slight modulation of your tone especially when you're giving a dialogue from another person, your uncle, your mentor. Could have made a little change in tone. If that is not possible, another technique is a slight difference of your gaze. When you're talking about the other person, a slight angulation of your neck, or maybe expression, like when you're asking a question. Raam, do you know what? Just a slight this thing can make all the difference in making the story more engaging for your audience. Now, the second thing you asked me to check was speech segmentation. You had a very good concept, intro, 2 stories, conclusion, but I think you might have run out of time. Your conclusion was very, very narrow, hardly, maybe even less than a minute. The third aspect you wanted me to look into was your ending message. Now here I'm afraid that is what it is not an inspiring ending message. I mean, you have done such fantastic work. Your charity has done such fantastic work. You had opportunity to give a real inspiring message. Maybe something like, now you know what a difference you can make. you also know that I can help you make that difference, contact me. I mean, I'm just giving you a suggestion because you've done such beautiful stuff. Don't let it go to waste. Now about project objectives, I'm afraid you fell a little short because you are supposed to have a 360-degree evaluation aspect, which you did not mention. And also, I hate to say this, but when you're doing a complicated project, please do send the evaluation form to your evaluator. Saying that, Raam, I am so fortunate to have this opportunity to know you in Leadership Speak, because indeed you are an inspiring person doing inspiring work. Back to you, Mr. GE.
Thank you, Bindhu. Thank you. One of the things that we always say for the evaluations is use a sandwich approach. What we did good, what we could do better, and then ending it, what you did it good. And I think you followed that philosophy very, very well for doing Raam's Lakhanpal speech evaluation. So good job, Raam. I'm going to do my evaluation. Third person, the evaluator is Mohmad Asif. Mohmad is going to evaluate Mohmad Azimuddin speech. So over to you, Asif.
Toastmaster Azimuddin had given us a fabulous speech today about storytelling, using the techniques of storytelling. Now, we heard a story about little girl Akar and the financial challenges, the challenge of being, a child of a single parent and overcoming those challenges. And he very well connected it with leadership as well. So that was the beauty in which I heard in the whole of the speech. If I have to understand it from the speech construction and the speech delivery both ways, if I say the speech delivery, the art of storytelling revolves around 5 C's. That is, the building up the circumstance, the curiosity, character building, the conversations, and the conflict. Few of the things I really could see that was revolving around the painting. Few of the things could be improved, like the scene setting in a proper way, that, where is now we are standing, how does the school look like, how does Akar look like as a character, and what kind of dialogue goes on between different characters. That would make the story more interesting. As far as the content is concerned, I was a bit confused with the word as intuition. If I heard things correctly, because intuition, which comes, you rightly mentioned about, from where the logic comes from the mind and the emotion comes from the heart and the intuition comes from the gut feeling, right? I could not comprehend what was the gut feeling of Akar. And then, yes, of course, leaders also go with that reasoning, art, as well as sometimes, when you don't have much of the clarity, you go with your instincts, inner instincts, right? And that's one of the ways which you could have really brought into it. So a bit of disconnect, I couldn't correlate the story with what leadership stands for in with related to intuition. So this is where you could try to, think about your story development. So overall, I feel that yes, the aspects of storytelling were covered in the project. So project objective is already achieved, and you are a very good speaker as well, improving upon how to build the story setup, and the delivery part would definitely make the speech even more better and interesting. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Asif, for a very, very constructive feedback. And thank you, Mohmad Azimuddin, for taking the feedback very positively. Thank you, all the evaluators, for the evaluation of the speeches. Now I'm going to request our timer, to share the timings of all the evaluations. And I know we missed recording the timings of each speeches also in the earlier part. So if we can have the timing of the speeches as well as the timing of the evaluation, over to you, Timer Hannah.
Certainly, Mr. General Evaluator, it's my pleasure. The leadership speaker was 21 minutes, 52 seconds. Marianna, her speech 7:52, and the question and answer 13 minutes, 9 seconds. Raam, 8 minutes, 5 seconds. Mohmad, Azimuddin, 6:34. Now the evaluators, Tony, on the dot, 3 minutes. And Mrinal, 3 minutes, 27. Bindhu, 3 minutes, 8. And Asif, 2 minutes, 54. Over to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you so much. Can we have the Zoom master put the poll for the best evaluator, please? If the timing for the poll is up, can we see the results? Good stuff. So good. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Bindhu. Sorry, my apologies for. But to all the evaluators, pretty close. Mrinal, Bindhu, Mohmad, Asif, everybody's been very, very close. Thank you. Congratulations. Now, may I request the grammarian to give her report, please? Over to you.
Thank you. The grammarian's report. We used the word of the day. I picked it up for use by our Toastmaster Sandra and myself, and the word of the day, prerogative. And it's my prerogative to move swiftly through the grammarian's report in order to save time. I did know that there were a few uses of all, and we used it very discreetly because we're all experienced. And so I think we know how to infuse it so it's not a distraction, but it is something that we want to be mindful of as we make our speeches and as we give our evaluations. The use of all, it gets in the way a lot of times. Another thing I'd like to recommend overall for all of us is that we're mindful of not rushing through the sentence so they flow all together, that we either pause or we make a gesture so that we realize that one thought is out and we're going to start another thought. There were a couple of phrases that were used that stood out in my mind, and those two were manage myself and not time, and the second one, 5 days fast, 5 days eating. Those rung a bell in my mind because they were attention getting and they were self-directed. Thank you, Mr. Chief, Mr. General Evaluator, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for grammarian Vivian for your report. Now I'm going to give my overall report of the meeting. First of all, I really liked the theme of the meeting, you managing you, or is you managing the time or the time managing you. And Brahm's educational session saying that time is a tool. Before I start my evaluation, I'm going to share something which I learned in one of the time management presentations a couple of months back. And they said, the facilitator said, hey, you take away all the bank balance that I have it, I can get it back. You take away my car, I can take it back. You take away my house, I can get it back. But you take away my time, I cannot get it back. But to that matter, I'm going to give a credit to our Toastmaster of the day, Sandra, because we were running behind in the meeting today. And I messaged her, Sandra, we are running behind in the meeting. And she took the time back out of it too by reorganizing the activity. So let me start off with the general overall evaluation. I really liked the good interaction that we always have it before the start of the meeting. One of the things Toastmaster Sandra did is she gave advance intimations to all the speakers, evaluators, and says, put your title before your name. So that was a very good thing, Sandra, to do it too. She also asked Hannah that if somebody goes 1 minute above the timing that are assigned to you, then you should flag it more red. That was a clear communication, clear instructions. Meeting started in time. There were some issues, technical issues with Francoise when she was raising the toast, or sorry, when Angela was raising the toast, and Francois was saying that too. It's all technology. We all know that. But to Sandra's point of view, the way the leaders do it, if we are having some challenges, we don't hold it there, we move on, but we don't forget our people, those who are having the challenges. So that's what she did. She moved on with the other roles, but she didn't forget Angela for that meeting too. She brought her back, asked Angela to explain her role. And Anna, you've done a wonderful role of managing the time, green, yellow, and all that, and red, everybody. Brahm, your speech, as always, is wonderful, is very educational. Marianna, your speech, and Mrinal said it very rightly. In 13 minutes time, you managed to answer 15 questions from 6 speakers. That was wonderful. Raam, your speech of showing the sharing the work that you have been doing it with your uncle and other people is very, very inspiring. And Mohmad Azimuddin, your storytelling again. All in all, good stuff. And as I said in the beginning also, that we were running behind a couple of minutes in the meeting, and I sent Sandra a message that we are running behind, and she reorganized everything to make sure that as per the schedule, we are supposed to be at 10:14 now, and it is right at 10:14, and all the evaluation parts have been done. So congratulations, everybody. This is one of the reasons I love coming to this club meeting every morning, every Saturday morning at 8:30. Good stuff. We all are leaders. And back to you, Toastmaster of the day, Sandra.
Thank you, Dinesh. Did you want to take a couple minutes as well to evaluate the evaluators? Could you do that?
Yeah, I can do that too.
All right, thank you.
Perfect. So first evaluation that I'm going to do it is Tony. Tony, I don't need to evaluate you. I learned a lot of stuff from you myself. You are a very, very experienced Toastmaster, and you are very rightly pointed out to Brahm on how in Braham's speech there was technology, and we all know Brahm is expert in technology. So the pictures that he highlighted, the videos that he highlighted, it was a good evaluation. And I think the feedback provided by you to Brahm is very, very insightful in terms of saying that, hey, everything was good, but he should have a checklist saying that, or he should have related a personal story on how the time management helped him. So I learned from that, yes, but in my journey, I'm saying somebody, a communication expert has told me, fact tells, but stories sells. And when it has the personal stories, it relates very, very well. So you giving the tools to Brahm, saying that the checklist was there, but checklist should have been filled up there too, or there should have been a very personal story. That was very, very good way of giving a feedback to Brahm. So thank you for your feedback that you gave it to Brahm. Mrinal, we know Mrinal, you like to do things in a very detailed oriented way, and you shared with Marianna how she handled in all the different elements of answering questions from 6 speakers, 15 questions in that 13 minutes time. That was very insightful. And the feedback that you gave it to Marianna about a little bit of a smile on the face and all that stuff too. Yes, when you're answering the question, okay, sometime, yeah, you may forget. I don't smile, okay, in taking a picture, it becomes hard, but that's how we all are here. We all are here to learn from the feedback from each other, to work onto it, to improve onto it too. So good job, Mrinal, for that, your feedback. Bindhu, you gave good insight on the evaluations to Raam Lakhanpal, okay, saying what he did. And as I said earlier, your evaluation came up with the same sandwich approach that we always said, that you share the good part, then you share what the individuals can do it better. But then you still end it with the approach that, hey, so you use that approach saying that Raam Lakhanpal, Raam, your stories are very inspiring, but this is what you could have done better. Okay? And then you still end it that Raam, your stories were, your speech was very, very inspiring. So good job, Bindhu, for doing that evaluation. And last but not the least, Asif, again, and I'm running out of time myself. So Asif, I liked your way. You were very candid in your approach that yes, there was a storytelling, but you still needed to connect well. There were some dots that even I couldn't connect with Mohmad Azimuddin's speech. So good stuff, Asif, for a very constructive, a very candid feedback to Azim, because that's how we all are here, to learn from each other, to get and to grow with each other. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Wow. I love that we can do evaluations of the evaluations, because that's critical skill. I mean, the speakers get their evaluations, and giving the evaluation is critical. So thank you for going back and doing that, Dinesh. I felt that today I really got to know people so much better. And that's why I love the individualized introductions, not only of who you are, but really setting us up for the speech. What are you talking about? Why should we listen to you? Who are you? What's your credibility in that? And then we will listen in a whole different way. It was my prerogative to take little bits and pieces of the Toastmaster of the Day routine. And so I know we got things shuffled around a tiny bit. I forgot to have the timing of the speakers done, so I just asked the timer, and Dinesh picked up on it. So we were watching for each other's back. I asked the timer, when he does call on you, please give the speeches and then the evaluation timers. Beautiful. And in the background here, so we understand what's going on in the background, my mentors, Asif and Brahm, in getting the meeting set up today, were in touch with me with WhatsApp. So I had that down in, and I always think it's important to understand what's going on a little bit in behind. And that's what has been happening. So I really thank the team effort that makes the meeting so important. Our Zoom master, Francois, is beautiful. I didn't have to worry about how it was going to be handled. Timer, grammarian, toast, all wonderful. The speakers were amazing. The evaluations are critical. Thank you for that. And thank you so much to our general evaluator, Dinesh, for a thorough job and watching. Oh, we're running behind. Let's pick that up. So really critical to work together. Now, I do know that we have some guests here today, and I'm going to hand the guest comments over to our president, Brahm. Brahm?